You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Talk Star Wars is a production of Emotionally 14. For fantastic podcasts, video series, blog posts, and much more, visit us on the web at emotionally14.com and enjoy content for the permanently teenaged. Hello there. Welcome to Talk Star Wars, Speederbike. Welcome to Talk Star Wars episode 176, the Star Wars podcast for Emotionally 14. I'm your host, Rob Wade, and I'm joined, as always, by my constant compatriot, Brad Harmer-Barnes. Woo! And we have a surprise last-minute addition to the show this week. The host of the Thinking Out Loud podcast and now Heavy Talkers, as well as a frequent Tumbling Saber guest and a not infrequent Talk Star Wars guest, Mr. Carlos Candido. Good evening, sir.
Ooh, yeah, son.
Raise that roof. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing?
All right, yeah. Brad, how are you? You all right?
Throw signal glitched. What was that?
That's how you were.
It just sounded like you opened your mouth and a load of machine code came out. I worried you'd been taken over by Skynet.
Oh, it's a risk. I won't lie.
It wouldn't be the first time. No,
my work are trying to teach me about how automation can be my friend, and I'm suspicious. Yeah. It's a documentary. As an aside,
Carlos, you keep doing that. We can't be on Spotify.
This is true. Yeah, just that was about enough. Let's not push our luck. As an aside, I don't know if you've ever found this, guys, but on internal, like whenever you have a kind of internal company network, it never fails that whenever it's falls to the employees to name it, it always, without fail, the winning vote is always Skynet. It's like, have you learned nothing from this film? It is supposed to be a cautionary tale. But no, you want your emails sorted by the damn thing. Yeah. I mean, really. Honestly. So we had a week off last week. But listeners did get an episode, because obviously, as Carlos knows, and as anybody who has heard the show will know, we had a round table that was a nice little round table, so we decided to, substitute for the main feed, and there it is, and there it was, and it's the first time I'd listened back to something I'd been on in a while, actually, because obviously I burn myself out during edit, so it's not often I go back and listen, but when it's somebody else doing the editing, it's quite nice to go back and listen and go, how was I? Was I good? And
isn't it?
I thought I was good.
It's the best part.
Yeah. I thought I was good.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
It turned out, I think. Yeah, yes, enjoyable. But we are back, as a normal Talk Star Wars format. So, what's new in your Star Wars lands? Brad, let's start with you.
I've just started reading, that's my daughter shouting in the background. Just started reading Thrawn Treason.
Okay, nice.
About a quarter of the way through that. It's you know how much you love Krennic and Tarkin arguing with each other?
Oh, yeah.
Just imagine Thrawn thrown in that mix as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just stood there like they're bickering, and he's just like, can you guys draw something? I'm just struggling to follow along.
Yeah. And it's Timothy Zahn writing. He's the guy who should write everything Thrawn is in. But he's totally nailed kind of like that Rogue One era Tarkin and Krennic as well. Right. You can just hear Ben Mendelsohn's voice while you're reading it. So that's absolutely spot on.
Cool.
I'm rereading Master and Apprentice as well. That's about it. I watched New Hope twice this week.
Because small child.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Given the choice, that's what she likes, and that's you don't want to discourage that.
No.
This is it.
She's still naming as many characters as she can. A current thing is we can't leave the house unless she's got a Star Wars sticker on the dress she's wearing.
Okay, nice.
So we had a TIE Interceptor today.
I mean, haven't we all got that to a point?
Yeah,
right.
I guess.
Yeah. I've got the...
yeah, she went to nursery with this lovely flowery dress with an X-Wing sticker over the top of it.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can... I'll give this a go. I'll see if I can get the video clip of her trying to say IG-88 to play.
Oh, yeah.
Over the mic. So, yeah, bear with me 1 second. I'll see if I can find it.
All right.
We can always cut this bit out unless I keep talking, which makes it hard if you cut out.
You'd be surprised. I'm quite good at this.
Okay.
Might leave it in because maybe people like a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I'll just hold the speaker from my phone up as close to my mic as I can, so apologies for any sound quality. This is my 2.5-year-old girl trying to say IG-88.
Ray, can you say IG-88?
I saw you on Saturday, right, Brad? And we spent the whole evening just ha-cha-cha-cha-cha. That was
we played out a rim, didn't we? And
yes, we did.
Yeah. I actually played as Acha Acha Acha, who's my new favourite bounty hunter.
Ha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
Yeah. No, she's still adorable.
Yeah. No argument there.
But yeah, most of my Star Warsing is done with her at the moment, or yourself.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, of all the people in the world, that's sort of what I'd hope it would be. Like, if it's just, I do all my Star Warsing with my daughter and some bloke I know who is like, oh, do you have like a podcast? No, just chatting.
He's my Star Wars dude.
Yeah, just chatting Star Wars. Just off mic because some of the stuff I say, it's amazing, so insightful. Yeah. But anyway,
every now and again we think we really should have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Did I remember rightly that you said you're doing Master and Apprentice on audiobook this time rather than print?
Yes.
How's that compare?
Much like Jedi Lost, they consistently overuse Across the Stars, which is really starting to grate on me. The narrator is absolutely superb. He's Qui-Gon and I'm just looking up, and his young Obi-Wan are incredible.
It sounds like it's going to be Mark Thompson because it's usually Mark Thompson.
Yeah, he
is rather good.
Jonathan Davis.
Oh, well, he's also very, very, very good. I'm glad they've kept him around because a lot of his audiobook narration used to be the Dark Sides and the Old Republic stuff. And bearing in mind, obviously, that stuff's all been scrubbed from canon. I'm glad they've kept him around actually doing stuff because he's too good not to be used.
Yeah.
So, so Carlos, how about your Star Wars recency? Because week seems like not enough time to really dig in.
Well, I've this week I actually picked up a nice Lego set from Amazon. It was Prime Day on Monday or Tuesday, and
yes, my wallet knows it well.
Yes, and I picked up Vader's Castle at 55% off.
Wow.
It was you know what? It would have been stupid for me not to buy it at that price.
Yes.
It was just even after tax, it was under 9 cents per piece. So it was fantastic. Can't wait to get to building that. And it's funny you mentioned the audiobooks, Brad, because that's something that I'm actually looking at getting into because as I work, I have my headphones on and I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I don't have that many podcasts. And by the end of the week, I'm starving for content. And I'm thinking about listening to some Star Wars novels. So I think I'm going to be taking the plunge in that soon.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, maybe we can...
The Star Wars audiobooks with production values are superb.
Yeah, no argument there at all. That's they are some of the best ones. I think them and the Warhammer 40,000 ones are probably my favourites.
Yes, absolutely.
For production
they're both up there.
Yeah, the only thing Warhammer ones do that great on me is when they released on CD... Obviously, all the chapters are tracks, which if you put your iPod on shuffle, it's like when, I think I've talked about it before on the show, when you have, you're reading a Star Wars book. I think sometimes it's nice to have the Star Wars soundtracks on shuffle in the background, which does mean occasionally you get to the big climactic lightsaber scene and you get the Yub Yub song.
Yep.
Now, I realise, obviously, the Darth Bane trilogy is, the subject matter is pretty dark. He's the originator of the Rule of Two, so it follows, it stands to reason. but I do feel it loses something from the Yub Yub song. Not even starting the fight, but just like midway through, just as if it's taken a really surreal turn just during mid bout. It's very odd.
If you had to recommend one audiobook to start as your first venture into Star Wars audiobooks, which one would it be?
That's tough.
Do you have a particular favorite film or a particular favorite era?
A huge fan of Rogue One. I don't really.
Catalyst
is really, One. Yeah, Catalyst is really good.
It's
all right, cool.
Krennic, it's Krennic and Galen Erso during the Clone Wars.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
it's cool. Real cool. I'm just going to have a look and see if there's any other ones I can recommend. I'm just scrolling through my library as we speak.
Lords of the Sith is a good one.
Yep, that is good.
Are these canon?
Those are canon,
these are all new canon.
Good,
ones.
perfect,
Yeah.
I would say there's some that are worth, even though they're legends, they're still worth doing because they're just good stories. I'm just having a look now to see if I can find some heartily recommendable ones.
It's an audio drama rather than a novel, but Jedi Lost is superb as well.
Oh, yeah.
Which is young Dooku.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's been getting me thinking about jumping in.
Yeah.
So
I would say if you like pulp stuff and stuff that's a bit silly, Red Harvest and Death Troopers are fun. They're like zombie fiction in the Star Wars universe. They don't use kind of zombie viruses. They use like ancient Sith magic and stuff like that. And
listen,
it's just fun.
If I want silly, I'm not going to go to Star Wars.
Okay, fair. Fair.
If I want silly, I'm going to go to Chris D'Elia and The Fighter and the Kid and the Bill Burr podcast.
Okay.
Totally reasonable. Star Wars is serious science fiction, and it needs to stay that way.
That is fair. I totally understand. I defer. I retract that. Unequivocally. Also, the Darth Bane trilogy.
Yes, of course.
That's always one I'd recommend. But it's those three are. I mean, obviously, you're going to need more books eventually. If you swing with the first one, you'll be like, I need more, and so you'll have this to refer back to, episode 176.
Nice, perfect.
I'll make sure there's something in the show notes about it, so you're like, oh, it's that one. Yeah. I actually watched the Star Wars film for the first time in ages this week.
You watched Solo?
I did. Yeah.
On a plane.
I was on a plane because on the way there, I was sitting there so I'd loaded up my phone with loads of offline downloads from Netflix. Other download services were available, and I have a lot of offline downloads there too. But I'd kind of made it in my head. I was like, I'm going to watch something like I had Spider-Man: Homecoming, I had Stranger Things Series 2 because Series 3 I don't think it had dropped at the time, and I hadn't seen Series 2, so I was only to catch up. And I fell asleep on the plane and missed the whole. The outbound journey was just me dozing off. So I thought on the way back, all right, well I'll redress this. But then I realized the headphones for my phone, where all this stuff is stored, are Bluetooth, and obviously on a plane they're funny about Bluetooth, and I couldn't get. I looked up the rules and I couldn't get a clear understanding of whether they were acceptable or not. So I thought, well, I'll play it safe. The only wired headphones I had were for my iPod Touch, and the only thing I've got on my iPod Touch is everything Star Wars that fits on it.
Okay.
So I picked a film at random. Well, I say random. I picked a film, and I chose Solo, and it's the first time I've watched it since it was on at the cinema, and I love it probably more than I did then. It's great. It's really, really great. Just sat there smiling the whole way through. It's all the silly stuff works for me. All the serious stuff works for me. Like the only moment that's remotely kind of questionable, and it always has been, is the bit when they get separated at the checkpoint and he's doing the whole Kira, I'll come back and stuff. And I was like, all right, that's not so much that it didn't work. I was just like, that's okay, that's enough now. Like you made your point, it's time to go. But otherwise, I love it. I think it's great. I'm all for the big. Yes. So it's time after the first 15 minutes. It's actually probably one of the longer sort of preambles we've ever had on Talk Star Wars. I'm trying to think.
Well, we had stuff to cover.
This is true, yeah.
We have books to recommend.
Movies we've seen.
Catching up. We had a guest appearance from my daughter.
Yeah, children.
Yeah.
You know, younglings and Star Wars, not always a great combo. Today it worked, but, you know. So our first email comes from Vesuvi, who was kind enough to write in multiple times. So I've agglomerated them together into one long message. Mm-hmm. She was also clearly paying attention to the roundtable because she was very grateful for the shout-out. But Vesuvi, as I mentioned in my email response, I wouldn't have been able to go through thanking people and not mention you. Mm-hmm. Because without you, there is certainly no first question. And then from there, where do you go? Mm-hmm. So, Vesuvi writes, thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brad. Congratulations on finishing your latest book.
Hey.
Thanks. Hang on. Thanks, Punch Jackfruit.
That is my favourite Tim Burton character.
Yeah. This is one of those moments where you go back and, you know, as I say, I don't tend to listen back to the shows because I've done, during the edit, I've kind of been back through and heard it. I tend to get the reminders of what we talked about during this bit. So, thanks, self-gratifying Atichita.
Oh, I've forgotten.
Yeah. Thanks, Emilia Clarke's affection. Thanks, Freema Agyeman is not Wesley Snipes. A public service announcement from Talk Star Wars. I love Darth Mark's question about what Star Wars item you might like to purchase if money wasn't an object. I certainly would have loved to own the actual necklace Leia wore during the Royal Awards ceremony on Yavin 4. Oh. Mm-hmm. I suppose since we're fantasizing, I'd love to have it presented on a Madame Tussauds caliber bust of Carrie Fisher beneath a museum-quality glass display case in a penthouse condo I couldn't afford.
Oh.
I mean, if money's no object, then that follows and that extends, right? So, you know, it makes sense that she would have loads of stuff she couldn't afford. That's kind of how money is no object works.
Well, that's why I said I needed a 1-to-1 Millennium Falcon to keep all my Star Wars tat in.
Well, exactly. You know, then you can even expand out to buying even more. So
exactly, yeah, smuggling compartments.
Indeed. In regard to Australian Dave's query about Michelle Raywan's appointment to Senior Vice President of Live Action Development and Production at Lucasfilm, try saying that 3 times fast. Her IMDb page, especially the producer tab, gives me a reasonable amount of confidence with the choice. All right, that's good to know. Mm-hmm. My initial reaction to Jared's clickbaity, wreath-shaped family tree challenge about Ray being Shmi. While I do think Daisy Ridley resembles a young Pernilla August, and that actually somebody did a side-by-side, and there's actually quite a likeness there.
Well, we can put her through that face app now.
You could, and you could get, exactly what you'd expect. Why would Ray change her accent so drastically from Swedish to British if merely displaced through time? I don't know the answer to that one. I mean, in the world between worlds, I've never got the impression that they've talked much about whether your accent endures. But
does Shmi have a Swedish accent?
Kind of.
Does she? Okay.
Yeah.
I've never really noticed.
Yeah, I think...
If it doesn't sound like the Swedish chef, I probably wouldn't notice anyway.
This is what I was about to say. Is I think your frame of reference might be
that'll be a weird version of Phantom Menace, and I'm aware of the magnitude of what I've just said there.
Oh man, can you imagine? I can. Yeah, it's hilarious. But I'm not going to do it because
she serves everyone dinner at her house.
That's true.
It could have happened.
Yeah, and we didn't see that they weren't meatballs. So
exactly,
it's and flat packed. If you look closely, all that furniture is flat packed. IKEA jokes. I've got 2. And I've got 2. I'm obliged, and I have 2 of them. Yes, she has like an accent. It's not like I say. It's not really pronounced. It's not like a.
It's obviously too long since I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 20 years since, so this year is a perfect opportunity to watch it for any reason you want.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not. I know it's not. It's not an edict. It's just. It's reassurance that you could do it with impunity, and nobody would be able to complain. Not one of them. Do you hear that, listeners? Not one. I do think Chass's sentiment so this is in I've just read this book, Alphabet Squadron. Seemingly minimizing Luke's destruction of the first Death Star was purely a character facet and not an actual criticism by Alexander Freed. If I had money, I'd bet big on that. Well, maybe that's how money becomes no object.
Yeah, absolutely.
The more I think of it, the more I agree. And I mean, I kind of half said it at the time that I thought that might be the case, and I'm kind of coming around to that more and more over time.
It's a common fallacy when you're reading fiction to assume that what a character says is true. When it's if a character says something, it's very easy for you to go, "Oh, there," because I'm not a part of this world. It's being taught to me by the author this way. Whereas actually, you say it can be a character facet, like the whole when Revenge of Sith came out, people went mad over analysing that only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yeah,
line, not realising that it did just because Obi-Wan said it doesn't make it true. It just makes it what Obi-Wan believes.
And it's also a black and white statement, so it's kind of
Yeah, indeed. It's okay. I see what you mean. I've come around more and more to the idea that it's most likely just that character's kind of point of view, and they're allowed to, underplay if they have especially if they have like a particularly strong opinion of another character, and they're trying to kind of big them up. Some people see that sort of thing as a zero-sum game. Anyway, Vesuvi writes, enjoy your holiday. I did, thank you very much. And thanks for the heads up. You're welcome. Vesuvi, Knight of the Commonwealth. And then Vesuvi kindly sent us an email asking if we'd seen the designs for the Sith Trooper.
Oh, the new Run DMC Trooper.
Yeah, this is it, they... I don't know what's underneath that armour.
No.
And it's pointless to assume.
Pure Sith.
This dropped shortly after we last recorded, I think, within a couple of days.
That's how this works.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we're on the new cycle of just out
futility. We're on the new cycle of futility.
Pretty much. Yeah, bombarded with Google alerts 3 days after recording. And that is, to many degrees, my life. Yeah. But thoughts, kind of generally speaking, Carlos, I'll start with you.
What thoughts of what?
The
Sith Troopers?
Yeah.
Well, in general, I think that the name might be a little deceiving. Like, are they actually Sith Troopers, or are they troopers who serve the Sith?
Right.
It's a little deceiving. I would go with the latter personally.
I would agree.
Part of me at first thought that they might be clones of a particular Sith because of the way the helmet kind of resembles a little bit the second generation clone trooper helmets. Okay. So there's a lot of questions to be asked, and I think if they're dropping this early as a spoiler, at first I was like, what are they doing? And then in my head I'm like, they're probably covering up something a lot bigger with this.
Quite possibly, yeah.
That's my think. It's like, look here while I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
think that's what's going on.
Brad, you've said that before about Fantasy Flight, right?
You always wonder what. With their games in general, especially their Star Wars stuff, with Fantasy Flight, I've kind of learnt to always wonder what the other hand's doing, as Carlos says.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it may be that kind of, they've taken some, Lucasfilm have taken some lessons or some kind of seen some benefit from doing that. Interestingly, when we played Outer Rim on Saturday, we had a conversation about this Sith Trooper, I think, and one of the things we theorized about was the idea that they may be part of a different timeline.
Could be a flashback.
I have since seen like blurbs that suggest that they are kind of in the current, timeline of the movie, but I still think it's a possibility.
It's also totally possible that they never actually referred to as Sith Troopers on screen, and this is purely for marketing purposes, and they are just red uniformed First Order troopers. Yeah,
well, this is the thing. Let me just see, because I think Vesuvi also sent through, because of course she did, because she's really good like that, the fandom Wikipedia entry for them. So oh, okay, has been moved to Sith Trooper without leaving a redirect. Thanks for that, contributor. Well done. Let's see. Have we got any bloib? Oh, here we go.
It's unusual, because I swear when Force Awakens came out, they made an active effort to kind of distance themselves from saying that Kylo Ren and Snoke were Sith.
Yeah, they did, and they've never consciously acknowledged the word. I don't think they've used the word Sith in any current timeline, it's always referring back to Sidious and Vader. I don't think I've ever heard them. I'd have to go back and check, but I don't recall ever having heard them use the word Sith anywhere.
Kylo Ren says it.
Yeah, but as in, I don't think at any point they're kind of talking about it in the current timeline. They're always talking about it in the sort of in the reverent and the historical. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he says, well, it's time for all things to it's time to let all things die, the Jedi, the Sith.
Yeah. So the fandom entry says Sith Troopers were armored soldiers active during the war between the First Order and the Resistance. Named after the Sith, an ancient order of Force users devoted to the dark side of the Force, these troopers were the next evolution of Imperial First Order stormtroopers. They wore red-coloured stormtrooper armour and wielded a type of black and red blaster rifle. There is no... Is there a source for this?
Wouldn't surprise me if they were basically this movie's Death Troopers turned up to look cool, but not actually contributing a lot.
Entirely possible, yeah. They may just be, much like the Death Troopers, they may just be a sort of special wing of
Spec Forces. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Let me just see, because this is so the link is StarWars.com's San Diego Comic-Con stuff. Oh man, they've already got T-shirts and they look pretty.
The only other
cool.
time we've seen red uniforms has been Praetorian and Royal Guard, so maybe they are a personal bodyguard for someone.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. It makes sense for Kylo Ren to have something like that, right?
Or
I'm not sure it's Kylo himself.
Okay.
I'm not convinced that it's that. And I think that might be the struggle in the film is Kylo dealing with these people.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you mean, these people?
With the Sith Troopers.
Oh.
And
you mean literally,
having to deal with them, and the conflict between them probably pushes him to become, or maybe to turn, or to help the Resistance in a way.
Okay,
that's my little feeling on it. Spoiler warning, folks.
I don't think you have to spoil it if it's a theory. It's fine.
No, but still, some people don't like to even hear theories. So,
well, then they can, maybe give Star Wars podcasts a miss until January. So I think going to be
the last 3 weeks. I usually try to cut out the last 3 weeks before the movie because it gets very.
That's fair. I mean,
yeah.
And I know there are people who do things like steer clear of Reddit and avoid things from like MSW, because MSW tend to drop a lot of spoilery stuff. And then, like say, Reddit is a wash. There's literally a Star Wars leak subreddit. So
yeah, I know. I clicked on it once by mistake instead of going to r/Star Wars, and I had Maul in Solo spoiled for me. Spoiled for me. I did it to myself, but it was a genuine goof on my part.
Yeah. Well, as spoilers go, it's not the worst, because it is it's very much an incidental addition to that. It's not like a It's not like I'm your father.
I just knew he was in it. That was all I knew. I didn't know how much he was in.
Yeah,
so,
no context for that.
I also kind of was able to. When the hologram turned up at the end, I was able to kind of watch my wife watching it and get her reaction to it. It was kind of fun to
That's quite fun,
see as well. As she turned to me and said, "But didn't he die?" And I said, "You've seen Clone Wars and Rebels."
Yeah, but let's not forget, because
I know.
I know you.
Off you go.
Yeah,
no, off you go.
That I didn't mention when I talked about big spoilers just there. I said I am your father. What I didn't say was Sidious is Palpatine.
Yeah, no, she is the only person who made it to the end of episode 3 without realising that he was the Emperor. Despite the fact they're playing by the same bloke.
Yep. It's, bless her. I think it's funny. I don't think it, she always acts like I'm sort of really laying into it, but I think it's hilarious. Yeah. Like, it's really fun. Like, I had the same experience as you when it came to Maul in Solo, because I'd been to see it myself at the midnight showing, and then I went again with Jen at the weekend. Because she didn't want to. She's, she doesn't mind coming to see these films, but she's grown a bit sort of weary of the midnight showings, just because they tend to be. Yeah, I mean, they're late finishes, and she has to drive to work and stuff. So she likes to be. For some reason, she likes to be alert. I don't know. It's odd, but she. So we went to see it again, and I got to sort of see her go, and I got to see exactly the same thing. Except she hadn't seen Clone Wars and Rebels, so I was like...
She said, I thought you did, and you said, Charlie's seen Clone Wars and Rebels.
Why is that relevant? Yeah, you always bring that up. I don't understand. Just, you know that... Did you know, Jen, that up until the end of episode 3, Charlie had not put together that Sidious and Palpatine were the same person, despite being played by the same actor? Well, yeah, now you know. And, you know what they say about knowing.
It's half the battle.
This is it. G.I. Joe.
What the other half is? Guns.
Well-armed militia. Turns out it's quite important too. Yeah. I mean, I get it, you know. It's well-armed militia and knowing in which direction to point them. That's important. You know, it's useful.
There you go.
It's certainly the least messy way to win, I would say. You know, and this is, I think we should always aim for that. But that's just me, you know. So yeah, in these show notes is a bunch of Black Series figure and Hot Toys pictures, and I will say they do look very impressive in sort of action figure look.
Yeah, I think that's possibly a reason I'm not so excited about them. Is they appear to be very obviously designed to have been action figures from the ground up, and I know crass commercialism and toys is a huge part of Star Wars, and it always has been. But this is the first time since possibly Jar Jar Binks I've seen something and gone, that's just made to be a toy or a wallet or a backpack or a pencil topper. Yeah.
And let's not be, you know, it's not mince words. We're going to ride most of these things.
but I'm an idiot, aren't I?
I'm okay with being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I haven't got any Trooper Black Series, anything like that. All my Black Series figures, well, I say all of them like it's a massive collection. It's not really that big, but of the ones I've got, all of them are specifically named characters. But this one is kind of like the closest I would get to thinking, oh, you know what? If I was going to get a Trooper, this would be the one. And I can't help but feel like part of the reason is because it's the E14 colours.
Okay, yeah. All right, now I like them more.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, if Lucasfilm is listening, and I have no reason to believe they're not, because I don't know if Lucasfilm has a South African division or some sort of VPN set up this way, but we had a massive surge in South Africa to the point where we top 10 the TV and film podcast, and we've been in free fall ever since.
Brilliant.
So clearly
what do we do?
I don't know. I don't know how it works. I really don't understand these chart things. I mean, I don't know how reliable these metrics are. I know that it means if it returns back an alert that says country, you know, you're in this country, you're in this chart, it means you got there. It doesn't. I don't know how accurate it is in terms of where you ended up, but I know that it means you turned up in that chart. So that's cool as far as I'm concerned. I like those things. And we're still massive, you know, obviously massive in Uganda, Kazakhstan, and a fourth one which escapes me right now.
Britain.
Sadly not. But we're in the mix, so that's fine, right? You know, we're in I think we're in the top 5 Star Wars podcast, which is pretty cool. You know, I can live with that.
I like to push a boat out and say top 2.
Trying to think what else would be there.
Exactly.
Fantha Tracks.
Default.
Do they have? Do they have a presence? I think they do. I don't know. I know Tom the Saber actually does quite well in the UK as well. I don't know how much of that is the Commonwealth just kind of, you know,
just kind of
agglomerating,
carrying their dead weight on our shoulders.
Obviously, you know. I mean, no, you know, present company excluded, of course.
He's not even listening.
No, I know. He's all right. He's here. He's in the mindful state. I guess these are words I've heard.
Yeah.
So the way it sounds like Carlos, you're right. They're named for the Sith rather than having anything kind of connected to them. It also sounds increasingly, from that description at least, like they don't. My theory about them being from a previous timeline is bunk. But you never know. Who was it? Was it you on Saturday, Brad, who was saying that wouldn't it be cool if underneath those was maybe not for troopers, but underneath those was the Emperor's wraiths, the red wraiths in the sort of floaty cloaks.
No, that's the first time I've heard that.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was me. That would be weird,
maybe it was my wife, because now she's obsessed with the idea of everyone being the Emperor.
Right, okay. She's overcorrected in the other direction. Yeah. This isn't even Star Wars, Charlie. This is Midsummer Murders. This is Midsummer Murders again. He's not even in it. This isn't even... Ian McDermott's not in this one. He's not even in any of them, I don't think. And yet, still obsessed. I don't know. I can't make head or tail of it. But, yeah, Sith Troopers, I'm pretty positive on this, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. As an aesthetic goes, I like the red and black anyway. I'm just, like I say, these colours run deep. So,
yeah, totally.
Especially because I bleed one of them, and one of them is the colour of my heart. So,
yes. See if you can figure out which kids. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, indeed. I will say I drink a lot of oil.
Yeah. It's true, he does.
Yeah.
Macabre.
It's bizarre, isn't it? No, yeah. I can't. There's no other word for it. But when I sneeze, it's a thing of triptych beauty. So our next message comes from Scott, who is a first-time writer-inner.
Okay.
And Scott acknowledges this early on when he says, "Hi guys, first-time emailer here, but listen to your podcast for a while. Keep up the great work."
Thank you.
No promises.
We will. I'm going to say it. I don't even care. I was thinking about Snoke dying, and always thought
it's a bit harsh. But
I know. This is an old email. It's like I was just thinking he's rubbish. I hate him. I was thinking about Snoke dying, and always thought it was a bit crap how he was meant to be so powerful, but didn't see it coming. Now we know Palpatine is going to feature in some capacity in Episode 9. Do you think it is possible that it was Palpatine that was somehow influencing Snoke and maybe clouding his ability to read Kylo's mind? Maybe Kylo has been his new apprentice all along.
Ooh.
I get the point about Palpatine being alive and how this affects the legacy of Vader, which I agree with. So we to recap, we talked about this as like it kind of minimizes Vader's redemption a bit if it's all for naught. Mm-hmm. But, Scott contends, perhaps Palpatine has been able to do this as some sort of dark side Force Ghost equivalent, and Anakin will have to rise to stop him, and therefore fulfill the prophecy of being the chosen. No idea how this would fit with all the other characters, the best kind of fan theory. Just thought it would be great to hear your thoughts. And that thanks from Scott in Scotland. I did not realise...
He's got his own country.
I was going to say, I didn't realise that's how it worked.
Yeah.
I think this is a fake emailer.
Yeah.
This is like Todd in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Scott in Scotland. I'm thoroughly unimaginative is what it is when I create names. So yeah.
What about Bradland? Where's Bradland? And Wadeland.
Rabonia is it's a small country, but it's glorious.
It's right next to Latveria.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's neighbouring actually. The diplomatic embassies are too close together for my liking. Yeah. I'll be honest, a little bit uncomfortable. Anyway, so to the first question.
Okay.
If Palpatine's going to feature, do we think he's clouding the judgment of Snoke?
I don't know. Man, that's
searing. Carlos? I kid. Carry on.
It's one of those, if it went either way, I think I'd be content.
Okay. Yeah. Carlos?
I always thought that Ryan used the Kylo turning his hand and one hand to turn the Skywalker lightsaber, and while he's turning his own lightsaber at the same time to try to make it seem like he's trying to convince Snoke, but I never really bought it.
Okay.
Which made me believe a little bit more that Snoke dying, that's just his corporal body.
Okay.
And that his essence either is in the obsidian ring or in another form.
Okay.
Which we get later on in the movie when Luke is able to project himself astrally through the galaxy.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it would make sense to me that maybe the essence of Snoke isn't gone yet.
Okay.
And perhaps that essence of Snoke has something to do with Palpatine itself.
Okay. Interesting.
That way, it makes that little failure of The Last Jedi a little bit less in my eyes.
Okay.
So I'm being an apologist right now for The Last Jedi by kind of like giving light to that theory.
You're among friends here. It's fine.
But if Snoke was fooled just by Kylo moving both hands at the same time, then it would be clearly Star Wars, because the Jedi were fooled by Palpatine for 12 years.
A while.
So,
yeah.
It's clearly plausible that both are true. I would prefer, however, that there is more to Snoke than what we saw on screen.
I would heartily agree with the notion that there's the hope that there's more to see from Snoke, because he's clearly, Scott kind of touches on the whole element of him being powerful, and that Kylo Ren delivers one line which kind of cements that, which he says, he's talking to Rey about the link, and he says, "You're not doing this. The effort would kill you."
Exactly.
So it has to be somebody pretty strong in the Force to be able to exert themselves to that degree, and Snoke is the one who turns out to be doing it. Now, whether that's a bluff, and he can't explain it either.
So obviously that's also supposed to be foreshadowing Luke's death.
Yeah. Because he's obviously powerful enough to create the link, and then the projection thing is...
Kills him.
Yeah, but Snoke's able to do that to the point where Kylo gets a wet glove from the rain on Ahch-To.
Yeah.
Like, there's drops of rain on his glove when the link ends at one point. It's like, clearly that's a powerful enough, thing that it's able to influence reality like that. I don't know. The problem I have with it is just I feel like chucking too many big bads at the end will kind of make it feel a bit chaotic.
Yeah, I don't want it to turn into a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, exactly. Like a big villain battle royale. I don't particularly want that to be the case. Like, because we've already got the kind of the spectre of Palpatine. We don't know what form that will take. Most people are kind of leaning towards the ethereal or like a MacGuffin, some sort of plot device. I'm inclined to agree, but at the same time, obviously, it could still be something else. We've still got Hux. We've now got Armitage.
Allegiant General Pride.
Pride, sorry, yeah. Not Armitage. Armitage is Hux's dad's name, isn't it?
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we've done that one too. Well, death. So, one thing that did cross my mind as I was reading the question, do you think it's plausible? Well, I suppose. Do you think it's plausible? And two, do you think they would do it? That the power of Palpatine's influence in the dark side is so powerful it can obscure the Force abilities of both the light and the dark sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get that a little bit in Episode 2. Oh, actually, no. Episode 1. It's mentioned right away in Episode 1 that it's clouded.
Yeah. And then they talk about it where they're basically saying, like, should we, in 2, they say, should we kind of I think it's time we tell the, is it about telling the Jedi or telling the Republic?
I think it's telling the Republic. But in Episode 1, they're like, I don't think the Sith could have returned without us knowing. Yeah. Episode 2, how could they have created this clone army without us knowing? Yeah. Episode 3, the dark cloud, the dark side is shrouding everything. Yeah. Exactly. So I absolutely, and this is all Palpatine. So it's not like we're getting it from a character who's not done it before. So if he's still around, then it's completely plausible. Would they do it? I don't know. That's the question now. It's like, what form is he going to be in? That's the thing. But what by what they did with Luke, they open up Palpatine returning in any form.
That's true. Yeah. I think realistically we're going to get Force Ghost Luke anyway. So it kind of stands to reason that the beyond the grave is going to be a theme regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So I can kind of see it.
It is a Star Wars trope. It's been since the first movie, so I mean it shouldn't be taken as
exactly
out of the ordinary, right?
Yeah, Brad, what do you make of the idea that Palpatine's Force essence might be powerful enough to kind of work that far and work that hard?
I mean, it's something I can see them doing because he's a character that a lot of people have a raging, rock hard affectation for. But I mean, the thing I keep coming back to is what J.J. Abrams said. Episode 9 is a hard one because not only are we rounding off this trilogy, we're rounding off all 9 movies.
Yeah.
The problem I have is everyone has focused on it rounding off all 9 movies and not on the fact that it needs to round off 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
7, 8, and 9 needs to be a self-contained story as well. So that's why I'm like, Palpatine didn't need to be in this. Mm-hmm. This could have just been Vader's legacy. Because I've always said the core movies are the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. Mm-hmm. It's Rise of Vader, the fall of Vader, the legacy of Vader is what it should have been. And a large part of my problem with The Last Jedi, disclaimer, I don't hate The Last Jedi, please don't flame at me, is my main problem with The Last Jedi is that Vader's shadow is not felt strongly enough in it. Which is very much so in Force Awakens. Yeah,
they talk about him multiple times in
it's just not strong enough. So the notion that 9 is then going to be Darth Sidious's movie, doesn't quite gel.
Yeah, I do get I do get where you're coming from. Yeah, it is a tough one because ultimately all we have is this one laugh at the end of...
For all we know, they're going to get onto the wreckage of the Death Star and there's just going to be a hologram of Darth Sidious going, "Hello, I'm not available right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, please do after." Roll it again.
Now, how do I quit the thing? Is it the button here? Oh, no, hang on. It's not that one. I could just turn the volume up. How about... No. Oh, goodness me.
You may have noticed that Brad's impression of Palpatine is so terrible. It's actually Mum-Ra, the ever-living.
Basically, it's people in hoods. I know what you mean. There is a good possibility. It might even be something as innocuous and inconsequential as there is a Wraith on board the second Death Star that's still not deactivated entirely and just kind of kicks into gear.
Yeah. Just laugh and it just loops.
Yeah. It just comes in.
It's just going some Butthead rerun.
But I do. There's something about. I keep coming back to Alphabet Squadron, and I realise that it's kind of. I suppose it's not really Spoiler Town anymore. It's been out for like a month now, isn't it?
Coming up,
Should be fine, yeah. So there's that whole thing about the Wraith droid kind of just going like being completely quiet, but still kind of moving around and staring people out and stuff. There's something deliciously sinister about it, and I want there to be a payoff that they're kind of building to slowly. Because the whole thing of this story group is supposed to be kind of keeping these threads tied together, and I'd like there to be some sort of payoff to that particular thing, just because it's so cool in the book. Carlos, have you read Alphabet Squadron?
No, I haven't read anything
Okay,
yet.
So there's like basically the Wraith droids from Battlefront 2?
Yes.
Yeah, so they make a couple of appearances in Alphabet Squadron.
Okay.
I'll kind of steer clear of to what degree and stuff. But
what I will say is they are, the way Freed describes them, they are scary.
Yeah, that's it. They do a really good job. They do a really good job of like making them sinister. Like I say, they're just sort of eerie and looming and stuff. And it's just, I say, I really want there to be a payoff to that. Because if there's nothing, it's still a cool thing.
Yeah,
It does feel like a bit of a missed trick if they then go on to not really do anything with that. But I don't write the books, and there's lots of legal stuff in place to stop it. So I can't see that changing anytime soon.
I'll join the club.
Yeah, just wall-to-wall Wraith droids in future stories if I was ever to be given the helm.
Just rolling down the corridor like droideckers.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. There's one book where it's just a scene where Krennic, Tarkin, Thrawn, and just flanked by Wraith droids. They're following Darth Vader behind the corridor in Rogue One.
Yeah. Just river dance. Yeah.
Just looming. Just like
I just standing there. Yeah.
Just like to Green Onions by Booker T and the MGs. Like,
that works. Yeah.
That's kind of in my mind. That's kind of how I picture it. But again, I'm quite stupid, and they're very much interested in. I don't think they're consciously doing it, but it's in their best interest to keep me as far away from the Star Wars books as possible in terms of authorship. Yeah. It's really quite poor, my attempts. What about the notion of Anakin having to kind of make some sort of similar return?
I quite like it.
Okay.
Because all the Force Ghosts so far have had significant roles apart from Anakin, who just looms at the side of a campfire for a bit.
We love looming on TSW. Big loomers. Big pro loom. We're like the most pro looming podcast in the Star Wars podcast sphere.
The Loom Bandcast,
Yeah. Actually, if you search iTunes, other services are available, and a lot of them are better. If you search iTunes for podcasts, Star Wars podcasts, you won't see us in the list, but if you look out of the corner of your eye, it will just be there. It'll just be looming.
Hearing there. Yeah.
Just in the corner.
I like it.
Yeah, just the artwork is just, it's just very, very peculiar. But, and I don't really quite know how I did it.
When Google Glasses take off, we've got to actually get that to work.
The Talk Star was just out of your eye line. So when you turn, it's gone. Like like one of those horror VR games. Just Talk Star Wars. It just is in your eye line at all times. That is that would be like VR kind of marketing genius, or fast path to lawsuits. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, gets your name in the papers either way, doesn't it? What's next?
As far as Anakin rising up, I think if Anakin had to rise up to confront Palpatine again, I wouldn't say it's out of the ordinary, because we see that Yoda can actually interact with the living world as a Force. So I see it being possible. But it comes back to a point you made before, that you didn't want to have like. I love the word Jamboree of who's the big bad, right? And,
Big Bad Jamboree is an episode title candidate, I'll say now.
Big Bad Jamboree, I love it. And this is why I think it would make sense to have a lot of factions and to see who's the real big bad. Yeah. Because we've gotten to a point, despite what the time lapse is between the end of The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker, we've gotten to a point where the Republic is decimated, the Resistance is decimated. Who's going to fight all these factions? And if you think about the fall of Rome, it crumbled from within. Yeah. So the bad guys fighting each other, and a civil war amongst the bad guys would allow the opportunity for the good guys to win. Yeah. So I think that's where they're drawing the inspiration from, is from that side. Because if it was a straight up battle, Luke Skywalker says, "What am I supposed to do? Stand in front of the whole First Order with a laser sword? And take them on? It won't work." So I think it's the internal strife of the First Order and the battling factions that allows that to crumble for the good guys to win in the end, ultimately. And if Anakin rising up and defeating Palpatine's Force Ghost maybe gives the inspiration to the good guys to take that shot while the other bad guys are fighting each other, then I would be okay with that. but it's a fine line of where is this all going and what does it all mean, Basil?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I get what you mean. I think you're probably right about the ultimate sort of trajectory of the final film. I think there's going to have to be some sort of thinning of the There's going to have to be something that's going to cause the first order's numbers to thin out, because they've just got such an overwhelming advantage against the Resistance. Sorry.
And it can't be a torpedo in a shaft destroying another super weapon. Like it has to be something else.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. It has to be some sort of, some sort of more significant gesture in the films that kind of has grander significance in the galaxy at large. Yeah, one would hope. Yeah, and rebellions are built on hope,
aren't they?
Yeah, but I think I'm still not sure where I land on the Anakin thing, because
it'll come down to how it's done. I think.
Yeah, I think that's. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's going to have to be a question of, do they pull it off in a way that, makes sense to as much as it can, because obviously, Wizards in space. But I think it just, like you say, it just comes down to execution over the spectacle itself. It has to be like, but wait, is this actually a good result?
My question to you is, how have they kept Hayden Christensen or Christian Haydenson a secret this long? How have they kept it a secret if he's actually seen on screen? Like, or maybe it's just voice work. Maybe it's just voice work, because we've seen that before in some of the previous movies.
Yeah,
but. How have they been able to keep that a secret for so long? And will you think they'll be able to keep it a secret until the movie's released, or is there going to be a drop as to Anakin Skywalker's in this movie?
It's a good question.
The in-universe question that preys on my mind is, if Anakin is still able to manifest as a Force ghost, where has he been all this time? Who has he been talking to? Has he been content to sit and watch the galaxy burn for a second time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. How it makes you wonder, like, how invested was he really in this whole transformation thing? Like, okay, you threw your boss down the stairs, but like, did you really kind of? How much of that was just because you were really sick of him and nothing to do with like the galaxy at large?
Yeah, why hasn't he been able to communicate with Kylo Ren, who was actively trying to communicate with him?
Yeah, it seems odd that it doesn't quite line up for that reason. I know what you mean.
Yeah, Kylo didn't have the right number. He was asking for Vader.
Yeah. And Snoke was like, yeah, it's me. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Tell you what. Yeah,
in my own headcanon, actually, I believe that Luke actually communes with Anakin.
Okay.
Which is why he's able to talk about Darth Sidious and the failure of the Jedi. Obviously, I mean, I have nothing to base that on besides my own headcanon.
I'd assumed he'd done research post-Jedi, pre-exile as well.
Yeah, but he would have to talk to Obi-Wan. He would have had to have talked to Yoda or somebody,
or Anakin, as you say,
or Anakin. And so it's one of the three. Yeah.
Hayden Christensen doesn't have to be in this film. If they're just doing voice work, they could use Matt Lanter just as easily.
Yeah, it's true.
Or Christian Haydenson.
Christian Haydenson.
Christian Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah, Christian Haydenson's pretty good. I think he's all right. So to answer your question, Carlos, how would they keep him a secret? You remember the whole "Where's Rey" thing when it came to the toys? Around the time of Force Awakens came out, I have always maintained that one of the really big parts of that particular thing was keeping secret the fact that she was the one who took the lightsaber and not Finn, because all the trailers were Finn.
Yeah,
and Finn was not only wielding it, he was wielding it semi-competently, which made you think, okay, this is, he's our guy. Like, he's our new Jedi. And then Rey takes it in the film, and then I was reading about, where are the toys with Rey, and then when they did come out, they all had lightsabers. And There you go. That's why, because they still have that kind of, desert, and not unreasonably so. They still have that reverence for secrecy, and I think you could easily. I think they could easily do it. I think they could keep him, especially if it's voice work, because he doesn't have to, turn up somewhere really public. He doesn't have to be seen at Pinewood. He doesn't have to be, on location in Jordan or anywhere like that. He just has to be in a vocal booth pretty much, let's be fair, like anywhere in the world. Yeah. Any professional vocal recording studio is going to have the facilities to make him sound good.
I mean, we'll do it fast nicely.
Well, this is it, I've got some pretty good Audacity settings, I reckon. So I think I could make it work. So, Lucasfilm, if you're listening, and again, I have no reason to believe you're not.
It's true. The number of times I've heard people talk about Rob and they just say, the audacity of that man.
Yeah, exactly. And they clearly are talking about my abilities as an editor. Because,
absolutely. That's all I can assume.
What else would they be talking about, It can't be my gargantuan ego, which is enormous and awesome. Yeah. And the best at it. But yeah, I do think they could keep it a secret if they are so concerned, which I think, understandably, if it was a physical appearance, they certainly would be. But I think the possibility of voice work or some sort of blue screen, Force Ghost type dealy makes it, slightly easier, I would think, to kind of keep him away from the main bulk of the film stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be my thought on it. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But Scott, lovely to hear from you, and very good first email. And I'm sure, having said that it will only go from strength to strength as we hear from you more. So,
and if we get an email from Todd in Minnesota next week, we know it's you.
We're just saying we're on to you, Todd, in quote marks, which don't work over radio. So our next message comes from Matt via email, who's a long-time Talk Star Wars supporter and I believe one of our patrons. I'm fairly convinced.
Cool.
If he's not right this second, he at least has been. For sure, but I'm pretty sure he is. And Matt writes, "Hello, team. I hope all is well. I was thinking about the upcoming Mandalorian TV series coming out and how they might handle the intro into the show.
Ooh.
Could it be a Clone Wars short and sweet style intro or a bit of text? Auntie Kath has said the text scroll will only be for the Saga movie, so I'm doubting it'll be that. Or, better yet, an 80s style intro with the various actors turning to camera and laughing. That would be great if they just made Pedro Pascal wear the helmet for the just see him turn and just this bucket just moves up and down. I'm sure the Star Wars community would love and embrace that choice. Hold that thought, Matt.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe they would.
Yeah,
that kind of retro 80s thing is very much a zeitgeist at the moment. So yeah,
indeed.
Give it a synthwave soundtrack while you're at it.
Well, so also with John Williams not doing the score, who would you have liked to have seen take up that role? I'd like Michael Giacchino personally to add a bit of an exotic flair while still nailing the heart of Star Wars music. Cheers, everyone. Matt. Now, he did go on to qualify in an additional dovetail at the bottom that he actually has IMDb'd it since then and actually seen the composer, because at this point he hadn't. So it is actually Ludwig Göransson, whose credits include Creed and Black Panther, as we discussed when it was announced. And he's, by all accounts, those soundtracks are excellent. And I've heard, I think they use some...
Black Panther was superb.
Yeah, I think they've used some of the Black Panther soundtrack, some of the sort of hooks and stuff in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. So I have heard some of that stuff, and it sounds great. It's what I've heard of it. He's done a bang-up job, so I'm optimistic about his...
Yeah. And Michael Giacchino did the score for Spider-Man Far From Home. So
did he really?
Okay. Oh, yes, he did.
Oh, okay. Nice. That's a good little tidbit there. Anyway, so how do you see the intro to The Mandalorian?
It wasn't even something I've considered, but that's awesome. Is it going to be like one of those 90-second long HBO style intros?
I guess. I don't know. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because it's more, although it's a Star Wars thing, and usually Star Wars things like Rebels just kind of... Doesn't Rebels have a cold open? In part?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Clone Wars has the sort of It's war.
Yeah.
At low prices.
Yeah.
He's got that sort of, that style of delivery.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not, there's no really consistent, you can't even say there's a consistent movie theme anymore because Rogue One had a different one and Solo had a different one.
Yeah.
Because Rogue One had a cold,
they both had
Solo
got around not having a scroll by basically having a crawl as 3 different still images.
Yeah, which is, just information presented in text form. It's like,
it felt very much like a crawl still to me.
Yeah.
Rogue One was the only one that genuinely just went, hello, I'm here.
Yeah. Present.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a gift because what a film.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I sort of think it's going to go more like an HBO intro. I don't see it going full on, elaborate. Like Game of Thrones has a ridiculously elaborate and utterly incredible introduction where the whole kingdom of the Seven Kingdoms assembles out of basically, cogs and gears and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sequence.
It's fantastic. And the attention to detail in every season, making it sort of, reflect where the action's happening and stuff like that, it's just wonderful.
I used to love True Blood's opening sequence. I thought that was amazing.
I have ever seen that one.
It's just beautifully cut, and it was all like images of sin and redemption just kind of juxtaposed together.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good...
and theme song, it was the best bit of the show, to be honest with you, after the first series.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what as an aside, actually, I'd be interested to hear everybody's favourite kind of TV intro sequences while we work our way slightly away from the question, as is our want.
As is tradition, yeah. I do like the HBO ones. I think like Dexter, Sopranos was great. Good, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. The one that's always struck me is like, as much as I love the show, the intro doesn't really do anything, is Frasier. The outro is really good.
Yeah.
But the intro is literally just drawing the skyline of Seattle.
Yeah.
And it just says Frasier.
Then mad bass line, yeah.
Yeah, it's just lovely piano work and, all that stuff. But, I mean, I can't fault the music, but, yeah, just not much in the way of intro pizzazz. It was always in the outro that it was kind of... It came into its own. Same with Seinfeld, I guess. Because that didn't really have like a elaborate intro scene. It was just kind of in. Maybe it was just an early 90s thing. Except for Friends.
I got a Star Wars Voyager type of score thing in my head for the beginning of Mandalorian.
Okay.
Something a little symphonic, but not too dramatic.
Yeah.
And coming to a crescendo, and bam, you're into this first scene. That's the way I would imagine
aping something. I can see them aping a Western trope.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking that was kind of my thinking.
Morricone type music, not Morricone, but something of that type. I could see them using because they seem to push the gunslinger thing a couple of times.
Oh, and they're going to be on planet more than in space, right? So maybe that's a good shout there.
Yeah, maybe like a Indiana Jones style map or something that just kind of like a little path where he's walking or they do like a Little House on the Prairie thing, and then it's just got like Gia Carano falling down a hill.
I was just thinking of Bonanza.
There you go. Yeah,
with the page burning on the edges there.
Exactly, or like Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, like just one of these classic, iconic TV intros. That
Murder, She Wrote.
Or like the Sherlock Holmes one. You just see like a little group of kids scuffling on the street, and then the Mandalorian just kind of looks off into the distance. I'm thinking of the Jeremy Brett one because, of course, I am.
Yeah, of course, he is Holmes.
I thought you were talking about the Cumberbund Benedict.
No, I'm not thinking of Engelbert Flaptyback. No. I was thinking of the Jeremy Brett, the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, so Holmes.
Definitive Holmes.
Yeah, and he was Holmes. Yeah,
yeah, he's Holmes with Holmes. Yeah, not Bobcat Flapjack. Bobcat Flapjack. Yeah. But so it's favorite TV intros. Any standouts for you guys?
The Stranger Things. I think we're all on board with that one.
Mate, that music, that intro theme is just so good.
Breaking Bad also. I like that Breaking Bad intro. It was nice.
Yeah, I've never been a massive fan on the show, but because I never really got into it. But the intro, I always like the intro to Mad Men. Just that kind of, he's sort of falling through space, and then it's got all the stuff around him. And
I dropped off that show after 5 episodes because the smoking made me nauseous. But
really, okay, interesting.
No, I'm serious, and I want to get back into it because I like the characters, and
it's bad for you, mate.
It is. It's terrible. Yeah. I definitely want to check it out. I just don't remember the intro to the show.
Yeah, I watched it relatively recently, I guess. Sorry, again.
So I like with American Horror Story, their opening sequences for every season is vague, and you just get odd little glimpses and odd little references, but by the time you're on the last episode, you know what everything in the opening credits is.
Yes, exactly. Side note, which is your favorite season or series from...
I've only done Murder House and the second one so far. I need to catch up.
Murder House is so good.
They really let the side down in the naming committee in the second series. So we got Murder House, and then should we go with the second one?
Have you seen what the new one is?
No. The second one's Asylum.
1984 is the next one. Everyone's going for 1980s zeitgeist at the moment.
Yeah.
It's the synthwave thing. It's Stranger Things. It's Turbo Kid.
Yeah,
that's where everything's at the moment.
Yeah. Well, Wonder Woman, the new Wonder Woman's 84 as well.
Yeah.
Looks cool.
Kung Fury, all that stuff.
There's definitely
pushing that.
I don't know if
it's a vibe at the moment.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I've noticed
even it was kind of like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I wonder. There seems to be this thing. There seems to be a bit of a revival of decades for a couple of years, and it's doing this weird kind of cyclical as it goes. Kind of every time the period of zeitgeist is slightly shorter. And I wonder if we're just going to hit terminal velocity and we'll just pop culture will just kind of collapse in on itself like a neutron star.
Would that be so bad?
I mean, I could live with it, I think.
Yeah.
Bell bottom, shoulder pads, and waxed mustaches.
It will be.
I think it's all
and
together.
For the men?
Carlos's autobiography is out next week.
Blimey, I'm trying to work out how I get back onto this particular train.
It's over.
Convey X.
Almost.
Yeah. So Matt had a dovetail. So with the recent episode 60, I'm not expecting that. With the recent episode 67 of the Retro Inc. podcast featuring Lego quite predominantly, do you have a favourite Star Wars set yourselves? I'm quite a fan of the recent ships, in particular the Rebels. The A, B, Y, and X-Wings look fantastic and were great fun to build, especially with a beautiful local red wine. I don't know, I mean, I've never paired my wines with my Lego builds, but I mean, that is a level of dedication I can appreciate, while at the same time being slightly frightened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Carlos,
I've done the beer. Yeah,
you've probably done more Lego builds than either of us, I think, over time. What's your pick? Maybe combined. What's your pick?
I love that I'm on this episode now. I had no idea this question was here, and it's kind of
it was a dovetail.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I love the ships. My favorite ship, a Rebel ship, is probably the U-wing. Followed by the X-wing.
Okay.
I'm a fan of Poe's X-wing in particular. Okay. I really like that one. But I think Krennic's shuttle for me is it's still at the top of my list but nice. it's still a ship, it's fun. It's fun. There's some really good ones. I think they're redoing Kylo Ren's shuttle from The Force Awakens.
Okay.
Because in movie it's black and the wings actually open. Yeah. But the Lego version was like a medium gray and it didn't open. It was kind of badly designed. Yeah. And I think they're coming around to fixing that. So we might get another Kylo Ren shuttle. Yeah. I think that's something that I would like to pick up.
Sounds like a
really nice.
Yeah.
Even Kylo's TIE silencer, which is gorgeous from
Last Jedi.
From the Last Jedi run, and those are all good. But as far as the A, B, Y, and X wings, my favorite is the X wing.
Okay.
Followed by the Y wing.
Okay.
You get more detail than an X wing. An A wing is kind of, it looks like a pod. As opposed to the other two, and they haven't done a B wing in quite a while.
Okay.
And there was talk of a B wing coming out as a UCS set, another one in the coming future, but there's no news on that so far.
Okay.
Definitely. And if I had to pair my Lego build with a beverage, it would be a Murphy's Stout or a Guinness.
Okay. Interesting.
Nice.
Brad. Lego build, Lego designs at least.
I've built one Lego since becoming an adult, and it was the Back to the Future DeLorean, so it doesn't really apply.
A set. Because when you said I built one Lego, I was just like, that doesn't count. It's just that's just owning a piece. That's not the same. It's like having a record collection of one.
I've got two Lego keyrings. I've got a Ray and a Krennic.
I have a Krennic.
He's on one of Fireman Reddy's kit bags.
Nice.
Every now and again, I swing into a Lego store and take a quick gander, realise that I don't have the space or the money to acquire any of them. So I just
that's what ends up happening to me too.
Admire them from afar.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the small person being big enough to do some of the Lego stuff, though.
It's easier to justify when they can actually play with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when they're more toys than choking hazards is what I'm looking at, really.
Yeah. When you can easily explain that relationship just by, one well-timed... Oh.
Yeah. No, she's seen Star Wars Lego on the shelf a couple of times and has kind of pointed at particular characters. She recognises the Star Wars... She can't read, but she recognises the Star Wars logo and will point at it. Yeah, and she will point at it and shout Star Wars whenever she sees it.
Just yells it.
No, she does. It's Star Wars. She really does.
Yeah,
and
roided out.
It's like a very small Star Wars obsessed Ultimate Warrior around Hester. And there's
our promo similarly incoherent.
You've met, right?
Yeah. Not for a while.
Yes. Now there was an Ewok one in the supermarket the other day, and she pointed at that and said Ewoks.
Yeah.
So no, nice. she is interested. Hopefully, there'll be a bounty hunter once because I know she really, really wants to get a Lego.
Yeah. She wants to get a Lego. Cha-cha-cha-cha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot wait until she's old enough to like just kind of like babble in kind of coherent sentences because I'm just going to teach her Ultimate Warrior style.
Yeah.
Just rambling shambles of like, and also the random just noises and stuff that he'd make.
I can't wait for her to be old enough to guest on the show, personally.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm still doing it by then, it's a lot of presumption.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the like I say, it'll be the simultaneously the rambling shambles of word soup, and then also that he would just randomly do because cocaine. Yeah. I don't think it's libelous at this point. I think it's well understood to be.
We've got some of the Star Wars Play-Doh sets. They're really popular in our house.
Yeah. I mean, a little easier.
She's got a Falcon. She's got an AT-ST and a T-47 and a speeder bike.
I'd say it's probably a little. It's fair to say Play-Doh is much easier to build than Lego.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you've probably done
absolutely.
it the right way. You've probably done it the right way around, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it could be a choking hazard, but at least it's non-toxic.
Yeah, and also, it's also soft. So
yeah, exactly.
You'd have to. Let's be fair. You'd have to eat a lot of it.
Yeah,
to really
challenge accepted.
I'm not. This is not going to be the new like ice bucket challenge, is it?
Fucking Brad eat an entire plasticine Falcon.
I mean, I believe in you, but I'm not suggesting. Yeah, I just don't. Don't.
So I'm aware of some Star Wars Lego sets, and I think they look lovely, but I can't offer any first-hand experience yet, I'm afraid.
What about on an aesthetic level, purely?
I have a big thing for the capital ships, so Star Destroyers.
Those look cool.
Proper ones, not the First Order ones, which just look like proper ones that have been sat on. But the Executor and all that kind of stuff I really like.
Yeah, they are. The Star Destroyers are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a UCS Star Destroyer coming out in September, probably for 400 pounds for you. So
okay.
Start saving your pennies.
Yeah. I have my Super Star Destroyer for Armada arriving at the end of the month.
Nice. I've seen they've started to make their way storewards. So
apparently San Diego Comic-Con Fantasy Flight will have a limited number available for sale. I think those will be the first ones.
Okay. Fair enough. Nice. My experience of owning Lego Star Wars is pretty much limited to like stocking filler Christmas presents. Mm-hmm. The kind of the smaller sets. So I've not actually owned any big. I did have the Lego BB-8.
Mm-hmm.
And that
won that, right? On
I did,
Force Friday too.
I did, yeah. I won it on Force Friday in a raffle.
Oh, nice.
Which
was
I remember
pretty.
That. Yeah, it's pretty bizarre.
I was jealous of that.
I believe it, yeah, because I mean, I went there. I only went there and I bought, I think, Thrawn and Vader as Black Series because I'd gone all that way, and I was just like, yeah, why not? But there was a group of, I want to say 5 of us. 3 of us went in the same car, and 2 of us won prizes, which is pretty incredible when you think there was like a couple of 100 people there.
Did you build that BB-8?
I think Jen did in the end.
Nice.
Yeah, she likes craft things a lot. It's not that she likes them more than I do, but she tends to. She finds them very therapeutic, whereas I don't always. And I have to be in the right mood to do things like, put things together, like assemble models, paint models. It has to be. It's either, I really need to get on top of this, or I'm annoyed and I need something therapeutic to do. And recently that hasn't happened so much. I've tended to just start waving.
I'll try to annoy you more, sorry.
I've started to wave the gun around. It's just, I kid.
Shout out to Lego Porg for being horrifying.
Yeah, if you don't finish it, like
Cubist nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't complete, then it's quite.
Has Carlos got one, or has he just been terrified by the mere mention of it?
He's got one. Yeah, he's just disappeared to the back of the
there
room
it is.
To reappear with a completed one at least.
Yeah, just that Clive Barker rodent. Porg, not Carlos.
I want you to apologize right now.
He's horrifying. That is.
That's amazing.
Get it away from me.
It's Turbis.
Yeah,
it's Turbis.
Yeah.
That's definitely a word for it. He's. Look at that.
Yeah, that is.
I love it.
Quite something.
Take a screen grab. Take a screen grab.
Right. Bear with me. I'm just gonna.
God.
Yeah, that's.
It's for pointy teeth and the big eyes. It looks like the Predator.
Got
it. Oh, this is great. I love it.
Yeah.
I remember that episode when you guys were trashing it, and I was like, "How dare you? How dare you?"
So triggered.
Big time triggered.
Yeah. To be fair, we weren't trashing the completed one. It was a half finished one with the head missing.
Yeah,
but still half finished with the head missing as of last update. So it's like, please just finish it. It's the lesser of two evils.
Nutcracker.
Love me, Brad. Love me.
Oh God, I'm so glad the Porg's there.
Does
it actually work as a Nutcracker? Because it looks like it should, or a bottle opener.
I actually have a Lego Nutcracker as one of the Christmas decoration. Yeah, but it doesn't work either. It's just decorative.
Just fold it around the wall now, and you just end up with a fistful of bricks.
Yeah, which is weirdly like how I shop as well.
Yeah,
it's because they put B&Q too close to the sweet shop. Yeah. But yeah, to
answer your question, that's what the opening sequence of The Mandalorian should be like.
Aesthetically speaking, I really like the Star Destroyer as well. And I would say also the Millennium Falcon is pretty cool.
Well, of course it is.
Yeah, I mean, it somewhat goes without saying, doesn't it, really? But nevertheless, I persisted. But yeah, I will say the Lego doesn't suffer as much, I don't think, from the abundance of options that the action figures do. Because I know we've touched on it multiple times that there are a lot of peg warmers still from things like Last Jedi runs and Solo runs, like the ones with the black, like the backboards from Solo and Last Jedi, and there's lots of those still on shelves. And I think it's going to get to the point at Forbidden Planet where they're going to start paying you to take figures, because it's already some of them are already 99p, and you can't really go any further down from there. Like, not in Forbidden Planet, at least. They tend to sort of have a floor for the action figure stuff, which understandably so, because that's a ludicrously good price for an action figure if you're so inclined.
I had quite a few Star Wars toys as a kid.
Yeah, I had a fair few.
Never collected them as an adult.
No, I picked up
adult inverted commas.
I picked up a lot of what they call beta quality figures from things like boot fairs and jumble sales and things like that for sort of 50p a pound here and there. Mm-hmm. But never, like I said, my limit is the hall of tools that I've been building over time. And I have actually, to be fair, topped it up to include non-tools as well, because it's now got, I think, Han Solo in Solo outfit, and Jaina Solo, who, at least she's on the side of good, even if she is. Yeah. I suppose you could make the argument it's a bit of a tool, but at least she's on the right side of the tool.
Yeah, she's on the right side of the toolkit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're driving at.
Yeah, which is good.
I was born in 82, so all of my stuff must have been Return of the Jedi stuff.
Yeah, I think most of mine was.
I definitely have the R2-D2. You could rotate his dome and a lightsaber shot out the top.
Mine didn't shoot out. I had one where it sort of poked out, although that may have actually been the scope in hindsight. That would make a lot more sense. Yeah, it probably was.
I definitely had Black Outfit Luke with a lightsaber in my arm.
Yeah. So when you say, you mean the original ones?
Yeah, I'm that old.
No, that's fair. What about the?
Did you have the roided out Luke? I definitely had Luke in Stormtrooper outfit as well.
Oh wow, that was a rare one, as I recall.
Was it?
One of the rare ones.
Played with it like you're supposed to.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I mean that's totally reasonable.
Definitely had a Han. Definitely, I had Leia in Cloud City outfit.
I think I had her as well.
Vader.
Yep, for sure.
I had a Chewie. I have a feeling I had a 3PO. So I had the basics.
I had the 3PO where the legs were detached but no net. So it's a bit of a rubbish 3PO. Or in Carlos's case, his favourite version, the destroyed kind. Did you guys ever have the Power of the Force action figures where the power was apparently steroids?
Yeah, I picked up a couple.
Yeah, you couldn't lift anymore.
I think there was a local toy shop, but didn't like £2 each, so I just picked up a couple of favourite characters when I was about 15, 16.
Roided out Luke.
Man, they were ripped.
They were
like Johnny Bravo V shape.
Yeah, they were ridiculous. Like you just found like what you're sitting there thinking, oh, I see. So that's what Obi-Wan Kenobi has been filling his time with while he's been on Tatooine, is lifts, deadlifts.
Yeah.
Because he was just...
Yeah, everyone was just like He-Man.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I think it was just one of those ones, maybe they tried too hard to get sort of standardized stuff going in the factories. And maybe they paid for that.
Definitely looked weird.
Yeah, it was very peculiar. And people still make jokes about it today. I mean, listen to what's happening right this second. Yeah. Yeah. But that's all the listener questions we have this week. So, Matt, hopefully you enjoyed those answers. You guys got anything else to chuck into the mix, or are we good?
How are you feeling?
I feel lovely. Thanks for asking.
Okay, good. No, that's all right. I was just checking in.
Yeah, good. Thanks for asking. So there we go. That about wraps it up for this week's episode of Talk Star Wars. We've established that everybody's feeling all right, and that's what we got. So it falls to me to thank Carlos, our guest this week, for joining us.
Thank you
kindly, sir.
That's always fun, yeah.
Yeah, where might people, if they want to check out more of if they enjoy the cut of your jib and they want more jib, where might they find that?
For the most amount of jib, you can go to patreon.com/Carlos Creates and throw $3 my way and be one of the patrons and get new music every month. If you want to follow me on social media, you can do that, Twitter and Instagram at CCandido Music, and give my Facebook page a like at Carlos Candido Music. Thanks.
Yeah, nice. And I can, as somebody who has done all those things, I can say it's well worth your time. And I can do that with some authority behind me, because it's true, all of it. Brad, what about you on social media as an individual?
If you want to hear me do more Star Wars type stuff, but with a tabletop gaming bent, you can check out Fire When Ready, which Adventures in Star Wars Tabletop Gaming, which is also available at emotionally14.com. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Fire When Ready UK if you want to see some behind the scenes projects and stuff. If you want to be my friend on Facebook, then you can head over to facebook.com/Brad Harmer Barnes. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RealBradHB. I might still be on Vero, but I don't think anyone actually is Vero still a thing. I don't know. I might have an open account.
You're an expert compared to me based on having an account.
Okay. I'm on Discord, but I don't really understand how it works. So it's just like basically shouting down out of your back door and hoping I answer. I wouldn't even try getting hold of me on Discord.
Give it a go.
I refuse to join LinkedIn ever since someone describes LinkedIn to me as Facebook for people who buy all their music at motorway service stations. And you can, of course, buy my books on Amazon and Audible.
So I'm just enjoying that last particular bit. So you can buy those books on emotionally14.com. There's links in the Team E14 page. You can find a little bit. There's actually at the bottom of the Talk Star Wars, every episode of Talk Star Wars, there's a little link as well, so you can go there and check those out. And obviously all the social media, all the social media stuff I mentioned just there. Mm-hmm. If you want to follow me on social media as an individual, then you can do so at Rob Wade Vision on Twitter and Instagram. But also we have social media accounts and email addresses and websites and stuff, which I'm about to sort of run off for you now. So Talk Star Wars, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is a podcast produced by Emotionally 14. And Emotionally 14 is a wonderful place where you can find all sorts of excellent podcasts and YouTube and written stuff. Mm-hmm. It's on the web at emotionally14.com. You can email podcast@emotionally14.com to get your stuff read on the air, like the lucky folks this evening have. And you can tweet at Emotionally14 on Twitter and Instagram. Well, you wouldn't be able to tweet there, but it's on Emotionally14 on Twitter and Instagram. You can also go on Emotionally 14's Facebook page. There's a Talk Star Wars page. There's Facebook groups for the other podcasts. There's Facebook groups for Fire When Ready. All sorts of wonderful stuff. And it's all available on emotionally14.com. You can get to all of it there. We also endorse a bunch of podcasts, so you can go on there. Most days, every week, there's something. So emotionally14.com is the place where all those somethings kind of reside in commonality. But Talk Star Wars is also a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. And that's an excellent selection of podcast outfits, all with a kind of a Star Wars bent in some form. So whether that's, movies, comics, video games, they run the gamut. So as well as Talk Star Wars, you can also find Tumbling Saber, Generation X-Wing, The Nerd Room, Rogue Squadron, the San Diego Sabres, Retro Inc., and the Sandcrawler Cast. They're 8 wonderful outlets that cover a significantly excellent portion of Star Wars fandom, and they're all wonderful people who I would endorse heartily. So you can find all the shows on the web at StarWarsCommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Speaking of keeping the lights on, if you want to chuck $1 Talk Star Wars' way in exchange for our thanks and an ad-free version of the feed, which drops slightly earlier on a Saturday UK time rather than a Monday, then you can do so at patreon.com/TalkStarWars. $1 a month. There's not you get, it's good value, I think, for the ad-free feed. That's fair to say. Anyway, that's it for Talk Star Wars from this week for episode 176. We will see you next week for episode 177. And until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and as always, may the Force be with you.